Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my video, my introduction video to my Senshi Revised Edition book. Now, I realized that I haven't made a video separately for this revised edition. I only made the video for the original debut version. But this is more of an updated review. I suggest if you want to look at all the things that the original book and this book gives you in terms of or what you get by purchasing it, I suggest you look at the original debut version. It's available as a video on my YouTube channel and also on my TTRPG. You can see it at the bottom. There'll be a video thumbnail. So basically, I'm going to go through in this book. I'm going to go through the new changes and the stuff I've made differently in this book, the stuff I've added, the stuff I've potentially removed, although there's very little of that stuff. So yeah, let's jump into it. So for those of you who don't know, Revised Edition is my updated version. It's the version that I released about a year after I released the original, and I've fixed a lot of things. All the things that I've basically been adding into the original's errata section, like typos and stuff like that, and also segments that either were not properly explained or were a little too vague or were a little too verbose. In fact, all that stuff I added in the errata and as my personal notes, and then I basically took all of those all of those notes and implemented them into this version. So if you're buying this book for the first time, definitely go get this revised edition. This is better than the original. The original is good. It's not a bad book in any means. You can play it fine. But this book is better. It's just better. I added things that were missing that I thought could have been included. All kinds of new little trinkets for you guys to have. So without further ado, let's go into this. The layout, you'll notice, is a little bigger than the original, which shaved off about 60 pages. So the original tome was about 550 pages. This one's 490, which is still a massive tome. But it's that big because it has so many options for your characters. It's not bloated in the sense of game rules. Those you can actually print on 3 pages at the most. So it's a simple system. You'll get into it. It's based on the World of Darkness D10 success system, and I changed D10 to a D12 and then added my own quirks. So it is pretty customized system, but it's familiar in ways you'll see. And I added stuff. So this is one of the things like I added, for example. The original game had a destiny system. The destiny system was basically your character's quote-unquote main goal. If your character achieved that goal, then your lineage character, which is your character's family member, that you would basically roll on the event of your previous character's death, that lineage character would get a bonus if the original character achieved his destiny. Now I added an optional rule here, which I don't know if anyone's going to use, but people like to play hardcore as well. So there's a disappointment rule, which is the opposite. If they don't achieve their destiny, then the lineage character gets a penalty instead, which is not that big. It's a pretty minor penalty, but it can be pretty big in like RP sections. Again, it's an optional rule, obviously. Stuff like this, I also added, like you can see this little caveat at the bottom that increasing a skill from rank 0 to rank 1 costs the same as from rank 1 to rank 2. I only said how much it was from rank 1 to rank 2, and then realized I forgot to type in how much it was from 0 to 1. So I added that in the errata, but now it's obviously here in the actual book. So I think any sort of confusion that might have been present in the previous book in regards to his rules is now clarified much better. Let's see. I think I added these things for samurai, like the actual tables for the ranks. Oh yeah, and I expanded reputation to now go to 200 instead of 100, so it's much harder to attain maximum reputation. It was a little too easy to get the previous one. These sections were pretty much the same. I made them more readable. I rewrote these sections for each clan, so they're a bit more, readable. And also these unique sort of passive abilities for samurai and all other passive abilities. I've rewritten because they were somewhere a little too vague in terms of what they do. So now it's very clear what they do. So I fixed that. And the other stuff's pretty much the same. New artwork, obviously. Ronin, these guys are pretty much the same. Wait, no. This one section is the same. Shinobi clans. Did I change anything here? I think again, same thing. I think I changed the passives to read better. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's new trivia sections that I added. Because why not? I had some space I needed to fill in certain parts, so I'll give you a little bit of trivia. Or other like side stuff. Artisans is the artisan, I bet, got an upgrade. It got a sub-profession called the butcher and the tanner. I believe those were not present in the original. And it actually says that they're the Burakumin social class, which is the lowest social class. So if you choose those, you're very low on the social ladder, which makes the game harder. Let's see. And like, I'm not gonna go through everything, but like there's stuff like, for example, here in the sale percentage for reputation, I did redo this to make more sense. There's a bunch of these small little quirks, small little tweaks, I should say. For everything, pretty much. I think I added new things here as well, like a new trade good. Stuff like that. I'm just gonna sort of blazing through this, so it's not a 1-hour video as usual. I'm just giving you a little sneak peek to see kind of how it's improved in terms of its layout. As in terms of its mechanics, again, you'll kind of have to go through them. See here, I think I added like actual reputation percentages for each reputation. I think this is much better now for like the risks of selling stolen goods. Stuff like that. Let's see what else is there. Okay, gameplay. This section I rewrote to make it more understandable on how rolling actually works. It's pretty much the same, takes about 2.5 pages. There were 2 roll examples at the beginning. Now I've rolled them up into 1, and I try to make it a better example so you kind of realize how rolling works. It's a simple system. There's not much confusion. I don't think my players ever were confused on how it works. But I did clarify a bit more so it's even more understandable. So there's no, there has to be clarity in these rules, otherwise people are constantly asking how to do things. Warfare is now the siege skill. I realized that the siege skill was a bit, useless because it was only for sieging or only for using siege weapons. Now I've rolled that up into the warfare skill, which also includes tactics and other insights related to the art of war. So it's siege warfare and tactician stuff and all that. Like coming up with a good tactic. Stuff like that. So I think that makes it more useful now. Now this is also, and of course this is a specialty. So it's like a subsection of the scholarship skill. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah. The abilities, I went through every single ability and every single martial technique, which are basic combat abilities. And I rewrote everything in terms of if there was any sort of weird thing in terms of it wasn't written clearly enough, or it was a bit, or if the skill was too useless or a bit too powerful. So I did a balance run as well. This section is completely rewritten. Most of them, at least, I'd say about 70%. Now, the skills are still kind of the same in terms of what they do. I didn't change the skills in terms of they do something else. There might have been a skill here or there that I removed or replaced with a different one, but mostly it's the same. It's just how they, how the rules were written out on how it works. And I did add new things, such as the improvised skill, which did not have its own ability. It now does. It's called the brawl ability. And you can now use this to basically get into a brawl, which means grabbing random objects and fighting with them, or throwing them. So it basically gives you two abilities. One's a melee ability, like a defensive melee ability, and a ranged ability for random, like for I guess I could say improvised weapons or even items. You can grab a I don't know, a teapot and smash it on someone's head, which you could have done anyway. But now it kind of gives you like two different rules. One's for deflecting attacks with your improvised weapon, and one is throwing at your enemy. Which again, you could do in the original, but here it's now it's part of this sort of skill, which makes it more it just makes it more useful in terms of game mechanics on how it actually works. Because this one actually gives you like physical armor dice when you deflect things with your improvised weapon, which is based on its size and all that. So this is a pretty cool. I felt like this game needed this, so I added this in. This was in the errata as well, so I just implemented it in here a little and rewrote it a little better. Let's see, Genjutsu, what else? So these are all pretty much the same skills. Again, maybe I switched one out or two, but mostly it's the same stuff. It's just written better. Focus on fatigue. Let's see. This is just rewritten. Reputation, you can see it goes from 200 to 200 now. Now the honor dice, it was a little vaguely written on how it works. Now I've explained it very thoroughly. So it basically is a dice modifier when dealing with honorable characters. Again, I made it much more clear as to what it does. The duel section, I think I added this duel section. I'm not sure, but anyway. Lineage, this pretty much stayed the same. Now combat. Okay, so I added a few combat actions here. Aimed attack, which is a new one. So you can now aim at a target with a range attack, and you can forego your turn, and then the next turn, if you still have line of sight to your enemy, you get a dice modifier per each of your attacks that you wasted that turn. So if you have a maximum of 3 attacks, you will get 3 dice on your next attack. The caveat is that they have to still be in your line of sight when you fire. So it's like a timed attack, basically. You spend your turn, but then you're aiming. So the only way to defend against this is to break line of sight. Grapple attempt is basically, it was already in grappling was already in the game, but I added it down here as well, so you know that it counts as an attack. Charging was also in the game, but I added a tackle, which is kind of like an unarmed charge, and rules for that. Defending got a big upgrade, which is now much more useful. The first part is kind of the same, but the second part now also gives you a bonus on melee counterattacks and melee attacks. So defending is very, very powerful now, and it scales with the amount of attacks you can do. So the more attacks you can do, the more powerful your defend ability is going to be. And anyone can do this. So let's see. Bandages now heal more wounds than normal. So each cloth can heal 3 wounds instead of 1. I added an optional maiming attack. This maiming attack was also in the base game, but I've basically rewritten it so it's more like, okay, if you exceed the enemy's defense by a certain amount, you can maim one of his limbs, and if you exceed it by 5 or more, you can actually choose which limb you maim. So, again, this is optional, but it might spice up the battlefield if you use this. Wounds got a bit of an overhaul. So they now have wound states: light, medium, severe, and deadly. Each wound technically does not have its own type anymore. It's sort of, they just fall into different wound states. So it's similar but a little different. It's a little easier to keep track of. You just have to know which wound state you're in when you're adding the wound, and that'll determine if you're bleeding or not. You can read it here. It's not that complicated. Actually, it's much more simpler because the original had wound types. So you had a light wound, you had a medium wound, you have, each weapon did like a certain type of wound. So like it did like one light wound and one medium wound or something like that. Here just deals a certain amount of wounds, and then those wounds accumulate into wound states. So let's say if you have a maximum of 3 light wounds and 5 medium wounds, and you suffer 4 wounds, then you're moderately wounded because you now have 1 wound and you're moderate. They sort of accumulate into worse and worse wound states. So kind of similar to the original. I feel like I've kept the original feel of the system, just made it more understandable, more easier to track. And everything else is pretty much the same with small tweaks here and there. Injuries, I went through the injuries and I tweaked them a bit to make them more make sense in line of what, in line with the actual injury. I think I added stuff like mangled mouth as well. You can get injured in all sorts of ways in this game. This section I think I've rewritten again with the same idea as the wounds, as the injuries. So it makes more sense. It's some certain things are easier to heal, some things are harder to heal now, especially if they're lethal. The conditions section I think I added a certain one which was missing. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the blinded. No, deafened. I think it was. Anyway, those are now all in the table. Grappling, grapple actions, this is pretty much the same. Didn't do much here. Mass combat, I did a bit of an overhaul. In terms of the rules and the actual numbers. So they make more sense. And let's see what else. Yeah, like the actions you can do, the ranges for each weapons. I added a section for generals on the field. So it's just more balanced, I think. Exploration. Now this section is pretty much the same because this was kind of the lore section, I guess. I guess you could say the history section because this is actual history. I think I added a new property here, like a shack. I'm not sure. But I think I did add a new servant. And for the fiefs, I added a random sort of, I added these numbers here if you want to roll D100 to see what your fief is producing. Your fiefdom, I should say. I think I added a new governance edict. I think it's the tax cut, I'm not sure. Anyways, these make much more sense now. And I added much more features you can use in your fiefdoms. You can build, and I've clarified what each of them do a bit better. Materials, this is pretty much the same. Weather, again, small tweaks here and there in the weather section. Illumination, I think, was a segment which was missing from the original. That was a pretty big bad on my part, I admit. I did add it in the errata, so if you did not find it in the book, it was in the errata. But I did add it here now. So that was a big goof on my part, I will admit. But again, it wasn't the errata, so it's not like you were deprived of it. You just had to check the other document. But now it's in the book. So let's see. Resting, I think there was some overhauls in the resting system based on the new wound system, obviously. Oh yeah, this is a big one. Rest bonuses. Again, this is something that I added in the alternate combat system for the original book, which is now the default combat system in here. You can get rest bonuses from 4 different sources. So each individual rest bonus does not stack, but different ones stack together. So you can get a maximum. So if you can get all 4, and that gives you 4 bonuses. So basically, each one gives you 1 fulfillment. So there's bonuses for high comfort. So if you sleep in a nice lodging or in a nice bed, exclusive food, you ate some really good food, quality drink, you drank some really nice drink like a high quality alcohol or spring water, and companionship. You spent the night with a courtesan. Now, depending on how many of these you get, it gives you a number of fulfillments. And then each fulfillment that you get extra gives you more bonuses. So you can stack quite a bit of these bonuses. So basically, if you get all 4 fulfillments, you can get +3 max wounds in total, which in this game is a lot, by the way. You think 3 hit points is not a lot. Well, it is if your maximum is 6. So this is not a bloated HP game. So, and also gives you the invigorated condition, so it lowers the difficulty of all your rolls. So resting bonuses are now a pretty big thing. So I made it kind of a money sink essentially, so that if you actually like go, well, why should I order, why should I rest in a lavish lodging instead of a normal one? The only thing I would get more is, I guess, is RP stuff, But here it actually gives you tangible bonuses. So, and obviously now I didn't write this, but obviously if you drink something of low quality or eat something low quality, you could get the penalties for that. But so basically it's I want to give it a mechanical bonus for these sort of things that were previously considered more RP than anything. Let's see, and then things like this, like seasoned jellyfish, for instance, will give you a rest bonus. So it'll give you that high quality food bonus. And then if you go down, let's say, rich accommodations gives invigorated conditions started the next day, gives 2 rest bonuses, comfort and food. So this is something that I now implemented seamlessly into the game, and it works really well. If you'd spend a bit more money, these rest bonuses last for until the next rest. So if you're doing something important the next day, investing some money in getting a better rest will actually benefit you a lot the next day. There's also a new optional rule for learning a technique. So basically, if you have, by default, when you put enough XP into a certain combat skill, you get a new martial technique. Now, this you kind of magically get it, quote unquote. But if this optional rule is enforced, you would basically have to find a trainer that can perform that technique. That makes it harder for you to advance. Again, an optional rule. So there's plenty of rules here that makes things more hardcore, if that's what you want. And some rules for making things easier. For instance, we kind of skipped it, but basically there was a section in the combat section that kind of makes combat easier because it is pretty deadly in this game. You have optional rules to lessen the lethality of combat and make it longer. But the trade-off is that because it's so lethal, it's actually pretty quick. Combat is pretty quick. You very rarely have slogs, like those really long combats you tend to have in like D&D and like high-level D&D can last forever. Now I kind of get it because you're fighting supernatural monsters most of the time. But it's like, there's none of that. Oh, I get hit for 50 damage, and then someone, I heal you for 50, and now we're back to square one. There's no wet noodle fights in this game. Very rarely do they occur. So that's something that was by design, and I think it works very well. And it's, but again, because this new system is more lethal than the original game, I instead of adding rules to make the one the previous game harder in the previous one, I made rules to lighten the difficulty in this one. So it's kind of a reverse philosophy. The item section. Okay, this got quite a bit overhauled because of the new, obviously because of the new wound system. I had to rewrite this whole section. So, and the other thing I did is that the descriptions for each weapon are much more concise and much easier to read. So basically, for instance, the katana gives you a +1 success versus unarmored, clothed, or lightly armored foes. This used to be up here, so there was a big description of this here, and then the actual like flavor text. Now I added a name for this trait. For instance, this is the keen trait, and then I list all the traits up here, and then just I explain them down at the bottom, so it's much more easier to read and easier to understand. For instance, the Kaiken is an offhand multi-purpose weapon, and then down here it says what does offhand mean, what does multi-purpose mean. And this is just the flavor text in the middle. So you know what it actually is in terms of visuals. So now these go, so you can see the different, so it's got a different wound system now. And these differ quite a bit now in terms of like the swords differ from the pole arms. Pole arms deal less wounds but deal more armor damage. Wooden weapons kind of have a balance of both. Bladed weapons deal more wounds but less armor damage. Ranged weapons got a balance of both. So it's I kind of try to make it make sense with the weapon that's being used. Firearms deal a whole lot of damage, obviously, and less armor damage. Everything's kind of useful now, I think. Well, at least that was the goal. Make everything useful. Or at least as many things as possible. So we'll just skip through this whole section. The same thing for armor, and also I added 2 more armor qualities. So armor only used to go to quality 6, now it goes to quality 8, like most of the other weapons. And the quality 7 and 8 give you, instead of giving you an armor bonus increase, they give you a difficulty decrease for the armor rolls. So that's actually quite a bit more powerful. In a certain sense, I didn't want to add more armor dice because Japanese armor was pretty light. Even the medium armors or like the quote-unquote heavy armors like here were pretty light compared to like a European plate armor. So I didn't want to go, okay, I've added 2 more qualities, now I'm going to add way more armor dice, because then it just makes everything a bit too easy. Armor is very powerful. Even 1-2 dice can save your ass. So instead of that, I just lowered the difficulty so it's more consistent. It blocks damage more consistently. The accessory section, all these sections here are pretty much the same. I added a little gear symbol, so you can more easily identify which items take the same accessory slot. So obviously the hats all go on the head, so you can't wear all 4 of them at the same time, which I indicated with this little gear icon, so I added this to every sort of section. So for instance, you can't wear a samurai helmet and a Sohei Kal at the same time, but you can wear a samurai helmet and a samurai mask at the same time. Alright, let's see. And like for instance, you can wear a protective cloak and a wooden backstrap, because the protective cloak is like a giant inflated ball on your back. Like an air ball that blocks arrows. So kind of follow the same system here, and equipment pretty much the same. Consumables, this is kind of the same. I did go through all of this though, and I did rewrite sections that if anything was not well written, and also fixed all the typos and all that stuff. Trade goods got a new icon as well, which is the sparkling star, which means that everyone that has a sparkling star has a high grade version, which is worth 5 times as much as the base version. Let's see. Currency, I added a current section for currency to explain how currency even works. Land vehicles and mounts. Let's see what else I added. Oh yeah, I think I added the Fire Mangonel siege weapon. And I added the I think that was it. And the European canon, I'm pretty sure I added some of this. And a table at the end and actually add mechanics to what it actually does in terms of damage. Crafting, mostly intact, but I did overhaul the difficulties and the costs a bit. So the difficulties are make much more sense now. Some that are a lot easier. Let's see, food poisons, pretty much the same. Oh yeah, and the food section now has obviously the little caveat for the invigorating bonus, which is the food rest bonus. Let's see. Oh yeah, and this is the GM section. So this is kind of the GM's guide essentially. Most of the stuff, again, I've rewritten, make it more readable, but I've also added little caveats here like chance and consequence, little things here and there. Let's see what else. Crafting question over contracts, retainers. This is pretty much the same. In the NPC section in the end, I went through each stat block, make sure it's correct. There were a few that had a few errors in it, which again was also in the errata. So I implemented that. I went through this in great detail now, because there's so many things to keep track of, especially if you're making this alone. It's very hard to do properly. But I did do it now, and I took a lot of time making it concise and correct. So, the animal damage is now different because of the new combat system. So if an animal is small, I guess it gets a penalty to the wounds it deals, and if it's large, it gets a bonus to the wounds it deals. And yeah, so instead of each one having a precise amount of wounds, it just gets this stock penalty or bonus based on its size. And its size also now increases its blood loss. There's also a section for animal hordes, which kind of basically swarms like a swarm of I don't know, snakes or something, and gives you a rule on how to adjust the stats for those. Let's see. And these are all the animals. Again, I implement all the fixes here in terms of the erroneous stats and the typos. And that's it. And now the character sheet. Pretty much similar to the old one, but I did I changed the wound section here, and I think I added this resist. No, that was there already. And the defense section as well. I moved this to the bottom, the durability tracker. And the weapon section here is a little different because of it's much more easier to fill in because there's no quality based wounds now like it was in the original. Let's see. And I added the destiny section on the second page. I also added a nice progression sidebar here that so you don't need to check up the book every time you advance a skill. You can check how much it costs and everything, and what you get at certain ranks. The animal sheet, I don't know if I added this in the original. I think I did, but if I did, I definitely did change it for the new system. The encounter sheet has also been updated to the new system. And that's that. And then the back page. The back cover. And that is the new revised edition. You can get this in digital either on Drive4RPG or on itch.io. You can also get it at you can also get the print version on Drive4RPG or Lulu. So I think this is the ultimate edition of this game so far. I think you'll be very happy with how it plays and how it works. It just things that you might have played in the original went, that's could have been done better. This one basically does it better, or at least I hope so. That was the goal. Now I can also show you the updated quickly. I guess just a little quick scroll through the Ire of Oda Nobunaga, which is the free one shot that you get for the both with the revised edition and the starter edition. So this is an introductory one shot. It's something you can basically finish in one session. It's pretty fun. It's a winter adventure. It's based on an actual historical event that happened in that time. And I added my own little twist to it. I rewrote pretty much this whole thing. Well, not the whole thing, but I rewrote the parts that had to be updated for the new rules. Like the wounds mostly. But I also put some tweaks here and there to make it more, readable. The maps, I think those were already in the original. But again, small tweaks here and there. And of course, the pre-made characters have also been updated. You have 7 pre-made characters in this, so you don't even need to make one. You just pick one and print out the 2 pages that you need, and boom, you're ready to go. This is a fun one-shot. I had a bunch of groups run through this and always got very positive feedback. So this is kind of like one of those one-shots where you can... It ends in a way that kind of makes you want to play more, or at least that's how I intended it. So, hopefully you'll try it and you'll like it, and you'll decide to either buy the full game if you're checking out the starter edition, or actually run your own campaign. Anyway, that's it for the video. I think that kind of covers the revised edition. Again, there's no way I could go through all this. If I did, this would be another hour and a half, 2-hour video. So you'll just have to buy it and see. But trust me, this is the improved version, and it's the way the game was always meant to be. And it pairs very nicely with the new supplement, Shadows of the East, which is the low magic supplement. Now that book is also written in a way so that it's also compatible with the original version. So don't worry if you have the original. You can still buy that book. But I think it works even better with this one. So that's it. I hope you liked this presentation. Again, if you're not sure about what else this book offers, because I just went through the changes, go watch the original video on the drive-through page or on my YouTube. I think it's the video 2 videos before this one. So if you want to learn like all the things you get with this book, with the debut edition, and which is also included in here, but just better. So, but if you're buying for the first time, definitely buy this. Buy this revised edition. You will not miss a thing if you buy the original. So go ahead and put your money in this one, not the original, and I think you'll like it. Also keep a lookout. I will be probably publishing my next adventure sometime during the summer. It's going to feature rules from both the core rule book, so either the revised edition or the original, and the Shadows of the East. So if you have both of those books, they're also available on bundles on both itch.io and TTRPG. If you're gonna feature both of those books, if you have both of those books, then this new adventure is gonna feature both of them. It's gonna be kind of a sinister, dark mystery, sort of occult sort of adventure, but still grounded in like feudal Japan, but like with a very dark undertone. You'll be, exploring underground cults, blood magic rituals, all kinds of weird yokai spirits, and there's a pretty big overarching plot that I think has a pretty interesting way of ending the story, and there's a lot of ways where it can go differently depending on your choices. So keep an eye on that one. Hopefully I'll release it by the end of the summer. And yeah, that's that. Thank you for watching, and I hope you buy the game. See you later.